Sometimes I would be trying to make headway, trying to figure out things. I remember once I called the Pentagon and I got a hold of a very nice lady, and I told her that my father had been in the Army Air Force, and I believe it was the 5th Army Air Force, if I recall the paperwork right. And she said, my husband was in that unit, was in the 5th Army Air Force. She said, I'll ask him about things. Maybe he might know somebody you can call. That was on a Friday. She said, call me back on Monday, and I'll see if I have something for you. And I said, okay. And so I was kind of optimistic. Maybe she could help. Seemed like a nice lady. So Monday came, and I called back, and I got someone else, and I asked for this lady by name, and they said, oh, she retired. I said, but I just talked to her on Friday. How do you retire between Friday and Monday? It didn't make any sense to me. I just was dumbfounded. Nothing that I ever could track down ever led anywhere. All I found were dead ends and dates that never matched up, names that I could never verify or did go anywhere. All I know is the man who was my father, even though I'm an adopted child, I love very much. It doesn't matter to me. He'll always be my father no matter what. But he lived all these lives that conceivably could have had he had at least 2 of them. He was born under one name and had a family that I knew nothing about until after he had passed. Although I had suspicions because I would walk into a room and people would shut up and stop talking, and after a while you get to wonder, well, is it me or are they trying to hide something? And then I found this dog tag with this name with the same initials but a different name. So maybe he had that life too. And then he had the life that I knew, the life I lived with him, the life of playing baseball with a plastic bat and a plastic ball. He'd pitch it and I'd hit it to him. And a life of fishing on the beach or on the ocean. And a life of Sunday afternoons listening to a NASCAR race and then going to the corner store to get I don't know what they called it back then. I don't remember. Today it would be the equivalent of a Yoo-hoo, like a chocolate soda. It was in a glass bottle. And where we'd get one, he'd get me one, and then we'd go and we'd feed ducks, or else we'd sit in the car. Sometimes we'd sit in the car and listen to the radio and listen to a NASCAR race. We even went to one once. It was really good. It was really fun. I couldn't believe the crowd and the noise and that was back before all the restrictor plate stuff, back when the cars could go, as fast as you could make them to build them, as fast as they could go, they'd go. And it was back during the days of Richard Petty and Benny Parsons and all those old boys and things like that I remember. That's the father that I remember, but there's all these lives that he had in between, and they all kind of bled over, I mean, in a way it felt like I was part of a cover story, like, the old saying about the average American Joe, a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. Well, that was kind of the life that I had. And I don't feel any ill will to my father for that. There were things about him that were secret, but his whole life ended up being a secret, and in some ways it almost feels like it was a lie to protect another lie, and on some level it hurts me a little. And I know it probably shouldn't, but it does. But he was born and he died on the 4th of July, and he deserved the flag for his coffin, and that was all I wanted for him. And that's all I still want for him. That investigation, and there are more things to it that I'll probably tell you about later. I'm still digging. It's my first investigation. It was the first one I ever started years ago. It's my unicorn. I can never quite catch it. Could never quite find the thread that unraveled all of it that made it make any sense. Because it doesn't make any sense to me, all the things that happened. And all the things that went nowhere. So I'm going to stay with it. And now with computers, it might be easier. Maybe I'll find some stuff. Things that have been put on microfilm or put on digitized or whatever with Freedom of Information Act requests that you can do now that before you couldn't even do that. Back when I was first starting to investigate this, it was all typewritten letters on a typewriter mailed in on a stamp and wait 3 or 4 weeks or 2 months or whatever, and sometimes longer than that. And sometimes you get something back and sometimes not. But I'm going to keep at it, and I'll let you all know what I find. It's a very personal story for me. It's a conspiracy in some form because it's got many parts and many people and things that are hidden. And that's what a conspiracy is, pretty much, is something done that's hidden. Now, sometimes these things can be done for all the right reasons and still cause pain to somebody. His family lost him for all those years. For all the years that I lived with him and knew him as my father, he had a son that he didn't see. And that son probably wondered why. Did I do something wrong? Why is my father gone? But he was my father, and I loved him. And I still do. But I'm going to stay with it. And if anybody out there has a story like mine, if you'd like to leave a comment, I'd love to converse with you through comments, and maybe we can help each other. Maybe if I find a connection or a place you can check, maybe you can find some information. I don't know, but I'm going to stay with it, and I'll definitely keep updating this story as I find more or don't find more things, depending on what happens. But I'm not going to quit just because I want to know. And for now, this is the Lightseeker signing off. Until we meet again.